Well, we do have roundtables that have very successful people in them, but what we take the greatest pride in is taking average people and making them really much better. I recently learned how Roger Bannister ended up being the first person to break the 4-minute mile. He found 4 people who could run a quarter of a mile faster than he could, and he had 4 pacers, and each pacer was exhausted after the end of their quarter mile. But when you combine that all together, he broke the record. What we have is 15 pacers in a roundtable who are all contributing different ideas from different perspectives to help people figure out how to get better. So in some ways, it's extraordinarily simple. None of us have all the answers. No club does everything the best or the most successful way. But every single club is doing a few things really well. And when you pull that together in a setting where people can hear it and are held accountable for following up, you get a multiplier effect of, you could say, 1 to 15, which can take an average club to superior fairly quickly. It's interesting because organizational culture in most organizations is invisible, except it is the guideline that everybody really follows. When you find out why someone doesn't follow a policy or a procedure or do it the way that they're so-called supposed to do it, you often find out that the underground news is, well, this is the way you really do things here. And it can turn out that the culture is very counterproductive, where one part of the culture will say, we really want customer service on this hand, and the other hand is saying, yeah, but we really want profitability, so don't waste any time or effort. And these come into a clash. The resolution of that ends up being a piece of the culture which says we're going to favor one or the other. The reason the culture is so significant is that every company that I have seen over 30 years that is exceptional over long periods of time has a powerful culture on how we do things and how we work together. Whether it's some of the clubs we know that are high performers, or even more interesting is to go outside our industry and look at businesses that aren't clubs, because sometimes it's easier to see what they're doing and what we're doing in the club. So that's one reason we have in our all roundtable conference, we've got a speaker who comes from a delicatessen and another one who has written about hundreds of small companies with very unique kinds of cultures. And the question of how you change the culture in some ways is exceedingly different, because the culture is always a reflection of the owner's behavior. The owner may say one thing, but the owner's words speak not as loudly as their behavior. And so people track what the owner does, how the owner makes decisions, who the owner rewards, who the owner encourages. Changing that can be hard for the owner, but when they do it, the culture can change very easily. The recession has done this, and it is recovering. There's lots of data now that says that. But there's something that's lagging, and it's consumer behavior. Consumer behavior did this, and a lot of people think it's doing this. In other words, it's not recovering to the level that the numbers are. And so there's half a dozen things that have shifted in consumer behavior that we see very clearly in the retail business, pretty clearly in the club business, but there's a lot more data and research. One of them is a whole edited view of what the options are for buying. When you go into a retail store, there's fewer choices. We're making it simpler to buy. The next one is that people are buying they want simple transactions. I would like to buy 6 weeks of Pilates for $159. I don't want a contract. I don't want to sign my life away because I don't know how things will be in 6 months or 8 months for me. And even though the economy's better, it doesn't always feel better. So we're seeing these kinds of shifts, and I believe that it's really important for every club in their market to experiment with different types of offers. Simpler offers, offers with fewer choices, offers that are more specific. And we're beginning to see in our roundtables that selling programs is extraordinarily more powerful than selling a membership, which is a little tenuous and always a long-term kind of proposition. The other important thing for every club is to really start focusing on driving its non-dues revenue up, because most clubs will plateau their membership and revenue after about 2 years of opening. And the ability to continue growth depends upon offering more to the customers you have, and that means that you need almost an internal R&D department. And this convention is a great place to come, because it's very hard to go out and walk through the convention and not come back with 2 or 3 new things, like using straps or using kinesis as profit centers. We started promoting among our roundtables about 3 or 4 years ago, and they won't work for every club, but every club has to be experimenting with enough new non-dues revenue sources so that they can add 1 or 2 a year and drive towards the best. 50% of your revenue is now non-dues, and that gives you a tremendous opportunity for growth, and it impacts retention every time someone is involved in a specific type of programming rather than just being a fitness member. The one thing I'm really excited about is the increasing evolution of our ability to collect from our roundtable members monthly reports on finance, on marketing, and on sales. And I don't have that here, but we can take like 15 variables for any one of those areas and print out for the roundtable how everybody is doing on a particular a key performance indicator like sales or retention or labor percentage of revenue. And you can see a little bar graph for the whole roundtable, 15 people, and you can see where your bar is. And of course, everybody who's in this business is competitive enough to say, well, how do I move up? And we also are evolving the ability now to print out so someone can see across the whole spectrum of 100+ roundtables where they fit in the world. And they can pick out and say, well, I have tennis, so I just want to compare tennis. So we can drop that and we can say, well, here are 15 tennis clubs and roundtables, and here's where you fit. So that becomes like an extraordinary motivator, because we know the integrity of the data is extremely high. And of course the benefit in the roundtable is when you see someone who is different or better, you can actually contact them and say, what are you doing? Can you help me? And because of the roundtable culture, which is what makes the roundtable work, people say, of course I'll help you. And so in some ways this hard-nosed database plus this culture of we're on the same team and we have your back and we'll help you is really what enables these groups to perform at such extraordinarily increased levels of performance.